Good morning, everybody, and I welcome you to Intentionally Healthy. I'm Teresa James, and the purpose of this um, get together is because we're all done dinking around and we are ready to be intentional about our health, our happiness, and our well being. Each week, our hope is to come together and to discuss how we progressed that week and the goals that we want to set for ourselves for the next week, kind of for an accountability and learning. We're all in the process of changing incrementally, and these little 1% changes that we can make each week will accumulate to be something powerful to all of us, um, to change ourselves and by natural extension change our families, our communities, our social circles, and our work environment. Oh, whoops. So I wanted to share a little bit about myself first. I uh, I spent the majority of my life since I was 14 years old being overweight. Um, and at 56 years old, I was almost 240 pounds. Um, and I found a program and I lost weight wonderfully and quickly in about 7 months. Um, and the beauty of the program was that I also learned personal development things that projected my mind and my emotions and helped me to, at 57, become a much different person, a happier person, more focused and energized and excited person. Um, and one of the things that I did, um, so for 11 years, I was an insomniac, and not just the insomniac who can't get to sleep, but the insomniac who can't stay asleep. I took Ambien, I took melatonin. Um, I I just couldn't stay asleep, and I was a walking zombie for, well, 11 years. And when I got healthy, that all changed. Part of that was that for my program and doing personal development, I was listening to TED Talks or podcasts and on whatever my issue was. And this particular issue was sleep. Um, and I listened to an incredible guy named Matt Walker, who has done tons of sleep studies. And I started learning how to sleep better. And so within about a month or two, I got off of all of the Ambien and the melatonin. And I sleep now a good 8 or 9 hours every night, almost every night. There are some nights where I just can't get my brain to shut off and I get up. But anyway, it's because I've learned stuff. One of the things that I have just loved is Sherry and I went to high school together, and we were in the same church in the same ward for, I don't know, a few years, and we just reconnected. And her husband had spent, I don't know, how long had Rich spent in the financial arena?
About 20 years.
About 20 years, and he just decided this isn't what I want to be doing. I want to do something different. So he went back to school and he got his doctorate in psychology and go ahead.
That's organizational psychology.
Right. And then these two brilliant people have started a podcast 2.5 years ago every week that just have helped me immensely with everything to do with my emotional intelligence and understanding behavior. And so one of the interesting things is called Authentically You. And one of the podcasts that I just listened to was number 114. And about 7 minutes in, they start talking about sleep and how important sleep is. He doesn't call himself a therapist or a counselor. He calls himself a coach because he's coaching people. And he said that he won't even begin with someone until they regulate their sleep, because it doesn't make any difference until they have good sleep. So what I wanted to do was to talk a little bit about sleep, and I'm going to kind of go quickly through the information that I have. Sleep is a direct correlative with stress, anxiety, obesity, energy, cognitive ability, and that's why he won't, and chronic pain. The mean average is about 8.6 hours. That's what we should be getting. And it is so important that we should be absolutely intentional about our sleep. So today's episode is called Intentional Sleep. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. Even if you have an awful night's sleep, get up at the same time every day. If you're on vacation, even on the weekends, it doesn't make any difference. Get up at the same time. It will train your body what you're supposed to be doing. It'll take a while, but it'll help you. Our bodies need light for wakefulness, and they need dark to produce the natural melatonin that we need. So get rid of the light in your room, so that natural light can come up when it's ready. And get rid of your devices. Shut down your screen time about an hour before you go to bed. Keep your room colder than warm. So 65 is great. 68 is probably the highest that you should go, because your body needs to drop its core temperature 2 or 3 degrees for good sleep. You want to avoid alcohol and caffeine. So Matthew Walker is the guy that's done all of this study, and I would invite you to go and watch him on YouTube. He's got little short videos. He's got longer videos. He's funny. He's easy to listen to. And I'm not going to go into all of the stuff about caffeine and alcohol. You can research that yourself. What do you do if you do wake up in the middle of the night, or you just can't get to sleep? If you are awake in bed longer than 20 minutes, get up. Go into the living room where it's all dimly lit and read something inspirational or soothing, not stuff that, don't do work, don't do your computer, don't check your Facebook or your phone or your emails. You want to just stay, and then maybe scriptures or a personal development book that you've been reading, but you want to just keep reading until you start feeling sleepy again, and then go back to bed and let yourself fall asleep. So no stimulation, and keep doing that as often as you need to. It is going to retrain your brain that your bed is for sleeping, and it's not for laying there and counting sheep. It's for other things too, but that's earlier. One of the things that you can do is called mindfulness. And it's a deep breath through your nose, 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, and then release it through your mouth for 8 counts. And you don't have to get all hung up with the numbers. Just a nice deep breath, hold it, and then think about what it is that you're wanting to do. You want to sleep. So that's your mindfulness, is what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? I want to sleep. And so one of the other things that you can do before you go to bed is a sacred hour, and I'll talk about that a little later. I should have put it up a little higher here. So a lack of sleep actually prevents your brain from being able to initiate new memories. Without sleep, the memory inbox shuts down and new memories just sort of bounce off. Your sleep inspires problem solving, creativity, group therapy. You've heard, if you've got a problem, sleep on it. There is that phrase all through the world in different countries. In France, their phrase actually says sleep with a problem, which is not your husband. You're actually 3 times as likely to solve a problem through 8 or 9 hours of good sleep than you are on 5 or 6. And they've done studies like that. So I've heard like Ronald Reagan and lots of leaders say, I don't get more than 4 hours of sleep and I'm just fine. Matt Walker said where is it? Oh, now I don't know where I put it. He said go down. The number of people who can survive on less than 7 hours of sleep without showing any impairment, rounded to a whole number, and expressed as a percentage of the population is 0. You can't function. What happens is your brain has like a sewage system that dumps this protein called beta amidol. Where is it? And that is what causes Alzheimer's and dementia. And if you're not getting that sleep, it's not able to wash that away. Ronald Reagan, who boasted about not only needing 4 hours of sleep, ended up with Alzheimer's. It's not something that's going, it's, you know, it's those, the 1% also down, you know, it's not going to kill you right now, but it's something that is deteriorating you. Men actually age 10 years with only 5 to 6 hours of sleep. If they're getting 8 hours, they are 10 years younger than the guy who is only getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep. After one night of 4 to 5 hours of sleep, there is a 70% reduction in a critical anti-cancer immune cell just after one night of only getting 4 or 5 hours sleep. There is the World Health Organization said that shift work, people who work at night, are classified as a probable carcinogen, a cancer-causing agent, because they are depriving themselves of sleep. During your sleep, your heart rate drops and your blood pressure reduces. And if you're not achieving enough sleep, you are, if you're getting less than 6 hours, you have a 200% increased rate of fatal heart attack or a stroke in your lifetime. They did a study, and it's gone on for years. Daylight savings time, where you lose an hour, the day after daylight savings time, there is a 24% increase of heart attacks that day.
Oh, wow.
And a rise in suicidal thoughts, in suicide attempts, and in suicide completions, and a rise in correlative rise in car accidents. Transversely, in the fall, when we gain an hour, the day after, there is a marked drop, a 21% decrease in heart attacks and suicide and car accidents. Mental and physiological deterioration occurs after 16 hours of wakefulness. After 19 or 20 hours of wakefulness, if you get behind a wheel of a car, you're actually responding the same way as someone who is legally drunk. They wanted to find out about REM sleep, and if you deprive yourself of REM sleep, they did a study on rats, and that if they deprive rats of REM sleep, they die almost as quickly from that as they do from food deprivation. They talked about men with sleep apnea, and that they are choking, like as if somebody's putting a plastic bag or a pillow over them 40 or 50 times a night and depriving them of oxygen. We would never allow that to happen, but we do with men who are having these sleep apnea episodes. And it's really important to get a sleep study done.
Tracy, can I insert?
Yeah.
I just recently learned that dentists now, some dental practices are doing sleep studies. It's kind of a new thing that dental practices are now asking their patients about their sleep, which I think is really fascinating.
Nice.
Because of the oral cavity and your sinuses, they're all connected, and that induces sleep apnea. It's certainly not just a male problem at all, but right. Dentists are now becoming the gateway to screen for that and be able to assist people with possibly getting into a device that will help them with their sleep. Yeah. The idea that you're choking yourself can be related to weight, inflammation from diseases and other causes, and even aging. But you're not going to be able to battle any of those three without getting your sleep turned around. And the medical, community knows that now. That's why, yeah, sleep is so important, but it just, the dentists are on it. It's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sherry.
Sleep. Sleep.
Um,
And I've got all my little aids here.
so we know that you are at risk of having a heart attack, a stroke, or a diabetes if you are not getting enough sleep. Did you know an interesting fact? For every extra hour of sleep that a woman gets past 5, she is 13 to 15% more likely to want intimacy because she's well rested. And it's just an interesting fact. Can you catch up on missed sleep? No, you can't pay it later. If you miss a sleep, it's gone. So they have people who do binge sleeping, who don't sleep through the week, and then they try to catch up over on the weekends. It's better, but it's not the right thing. It's not the best thing. You still are at risk for all of those health problems. 1942, the average sleep was 7.9 hours. Our hours now are 6.5. That's our average, and there are so many people who have less sleep than that. What about sleep helpers like prescriptions or sedatives, things like that? That's not sleep, it's hypnotic. They knock your cortex out, and it's still associated with death and cancer. And when you stop, like I stopped 11 years of Ambien, your rebound is into a worse insomnia. Mine didn't, and I attribute that to having lost the weight and not and having good nutrition. I have had really tight, good nutrition since then. I think that plays a huge part of sleep.
Teresa?
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
When someone's taking something like Ambien or another sleep assistant, does it produce REM sleep? Because that's the critical part about sleep.
Right, it doesn't. And they don't actually want you on it. It was meant to be a short-term 6-month thing. That was it. And my doctor tried to get me to sleep without it, and I just couldn't. And I was raising children, and he felt sorry for me. I think he shouldn't have helped me. I think that there are things other than pharmaceuticals that we can do, not just for our health, but for our sleep, for many, many things. But unfortunately, the medical community goes to pharmaceuticals rather than learn what you need for sleep, learn what you need to do to be healthy, learn what you need so that you aren't on these medications. And I was on it for 11 years. It's a very addictive thing, and it's not something that I would ever recommend. I wish I had found this program and this awareness of health and of sleep and many other aspects of health years ago. I'm glad I'm here now, though. Did you know that human beings are the only species that deprive themselves of sleep intentionally for no apparent reason? Now, does anybody intentionally say, I want to be insomniac? No. But we have created in this society some thing, people didn't have insomnia. Michael Landon, Little House on the Prairie, didn't have insomnia. We have, with this amazing society that we have, with all of the tools and the things to save time and to our computers and our devices and everything, we are more stressed. So we are built to have stress for about 15 minutes a week, and we live in stress. Our bodies and our minds don't have an opportunity to just to manage our stress without purposefully doing it, intentionally doing it. So one of the things that I learned with Dr. Himmer is to have a sacred hour. And so it's a sacrosanct hour. It is his hour before he is going to go to sleep. And if somebody invites him out, that's great, but I'm home by 9 o'clock because my sacred hour starts at 9. End of discussion. And, maybe there is some occasional time when he'll choose to stay up later than 9, but that is critical to his circadian rhythm. It's critical to him having a good day the next day. So do you guys have things that you do in the evening? Do you guys have something, a sacred hour? I'll explain what I do, what he does. Well, as far as I know. But what do you guys do for your wind down time so that you can sleep?
That's a good question. I have been trying to read at night, just like 10, 20 minutes. And that's been really good, especially on days when I'm still a little too ramped up to fall asleep.
Right. It's hard to just go from go to stop. What are you reading, Jody?
What's that?
What kinds of things are you reading?
Well, the current book is called Salt to Sea by Ruta Shipley.
Okay.
Anyway.
So it's something that's soothing. It's not a horror Stephen King. It's
no.
Yeah. It's important to have something that calms you and inspires you because your brain is thinking, it's processing as you sleep. So you want to feed it stuff that it can think about and help. Sherry, did you have something? I interrupted you.
I'm curious if anyone has little kids in their house, because anybody with little kids are going like, this all sounds great and impossible. Is anyone dealing with that right now? Okay, because a little bit of the history behind the sacred hour really happened a long time ago when Rich and I realized that we had no control of our day if we couldn't control our kids the night before. And I don't mean like control our kids, but like we were going to bed crazy, the kids were getting up, interrupting our sleep, and then the next day we're cranky parents and everybody's chewing on each other in a horrible way. And so this is like really a long time ago. And we printed up what were our rules for our house in terms of what expectations we had at night, very specifically, like at 8 o'clock, nobody answers a phone, that we were going to give our children an hour of undivided attention, and we were going to divide and conquer. So if nobody has kids, I don't need to go into that, but if you know people with kids, you'll know they're probably the most sleep deprived people because their lives are constantly getting interrupted at night, and you just can't quite get around that. But there are things that you can do to train your kids too. Like this is something we do. We turn, CPR begins with turning off phones. It's time for us to regroup as a family. Rich and I, as a team, divided and conquered, tried to put 5 wily boys to bed. And it was like, you get these 3, I get these 2, whatever. It's, after scriptures and prayer, it's reading, it's listening to them, that every child got to be heard by a parent for a good 10 to 15 minutes. And that soothed our children enough that they'd actually go to bed. Then they turn into teenagers, and teenagers all want to have autonomy of time. And then they start, getting creative with that schedule. And so all those things evolve and they become disruptors in your life and in your sleep. So kids are a totally different thing, but that practice, and it was typed up, printed on the bulletin board, which meant if any of our kids' friends came over, we were like, nope, anybody in the Himmer household, this is what we do. We don't mean to be mean or militaristic. It's survival time. And they always comply. We've often had some of our kids' friends actually not just spend the night or we didn't do a lot of sleepover, but we've had a few adopted boys in a sense where they come and live with us. So we were like, we didn't have to make it up. We didn't have to redesign it once we came to that conclusion. And then we could see that the next day was successful, not just for us, but for our kids because of honoring sleep. And the sacred hour of whatever you design, that it needs to be intentional. It is good to have it written out because you probably have people in your household that might sabotage that. And I have heard many, many accounts of those that are struggling. It could have something to do with somebody who comes into your room while you're sleeping, sometimes intentionally, to sabotage sleep. So your sacred hour is something, a routine that you design that's going to protect you for sleep. That's going to prepare you for sleep, and it's going to protect you from saboteurs, because you're going to be intentional, saying, this is a boundary I'm deciding on, and I'm going to implement and hold it. It just makes me sad to think anyone other than a child would be, an intentional sleep disruptor on a repeated pattern, but it is true. I've heard many cases of that, and that's something else to identify. So I don't know if anybody has the kid thing going on or know people, but that's one aspect. I don't know if anybody has a saboteur. There's a way around that. You can get control of your sleep.
We may not have anybody on this, but I'm recording this and putting it on YouTube, and maybe somebody else listening has that issue. And so, so one of the things that this is kind of what I do at night. You start with basic hygiene, brush your teeth, floss, get your pajamas on, maybe have a hot bath before your pajamas, take your makeup off, men don't have to. Put your clean clothes, if your clothes are still clean, put them away. If they're dirty, put them in a hamper. Get your clothes ready for tomorrow. I like to put out my workout clothes and my tennis shoes. That gives me the cue in the morning. I'm not just going to get dressed and move on with my day. I'm going to go for a walk or whatever, or do my dance groove or whatever. I like to look that evening at what my next schedule is going to be the next day, so that I've got that set, and take care of anything that might be needing to be wrapped up that night, so that my mind is free. I don't have to, I've written down, oh, I've got to take care of this or this or this. Now I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's on a piece of paper. I'll look at it in the morning. Charge your devices in a different room. Set the alarm to make sure that you wake up in the morning, and just get up out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. Practice mindfulness. The breathe in 4, hold it 4, and breathe out 8. An awareness journal. Just one sentence in each of these 4 areas. What have I learned today? IQ. What did I notice today? Emotional intelligence. What occurred to me? And I like to keep this journal through the day, because I forget. I won't remember through my day. So I have an app on my phone called Day One, and I just have different journals for each one of these just different questions. What self-care did I do today so that I am available for other people? What the oxygen mask that we put on for ourselves, what oxygen mask did I do today so that I can help others and be a good servant? And then the last one, and going to bed with this last thought, what am I grateful for? Just write that down. What am I grateful for? Because there's always yucky things that have happened, but if you focus on those, that's what's going to process while you're sleeping. But if you're thinking about all of your blessings, because I don't care who you are, you can be Joe, you've got blessings. And then just do all of the rest of those things. If you can't sleep, you get up. I want for you guys all to remember that you know enough to coach other people. You know enough to help at least one person to wake up and become intentionally healthy. I want you to know that you are loved, and you are so worthy, and you are the dominant force in your own life. I hope we see you again, and we'll see you tomorrow, next Saturday at 7.